nervous?
No.
Where's your answer?
Dennis Beckham, let the ball on! Dennis Beckham! Dennis Beckham! Dennis Beckham! Dennis Beckham! Oh!
Oh, no! Oh, yes! He missed it.
Welcome to the Suffering from Joy podcast. My name's Devin, recording live from Austin, Texas, which is apparently now an island in the Caribbean, to discuss Austin FC's sluggish, disappointing, depressing, what was that loss again, away to FC Frisco. Joining me today, Charles of the False Nine, Texas. Charles Peacock, how you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. I didn't get to watch the match live, but I watched it earlier today.
You knew the result, you still watched it back?
I mean, some of us are just masochists.
Yeah, or professionals, but I don't think that applies to us. Also joining me today, Brad Tillery. Brad, how you feeling?
Disappointed. No other way to put it today. Disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, we were all dreaming about what would have been the earliest Copa Tejas victory ever, even with the new formula. If you go out and just steamroll everyone, then it doesn't matter. Like 3 points is 3 points, win all your games. And that shit got shut down pretty fucking quick. Yeah. So I guess let's go ahead and jump right into it. Third minute of the game, Driussi plays the ball back inside of Brendan Heinz-Eyck, who is running outside. And Peter Musa picks it up, takes a couple steps, whacks it past Stuver. Stuver at that point needed like 20 more minutes, and he would have set the current season bar for longest time without a goal given up. And instead we find ourselves in very suburban Dallas, down a goal. Brad, any kind of quick reactions to that moment or how you experienced it?
Oh, I'm furious. I'm still pissed about that moment. Hey, we have to stop treating Sebastian Driussi with kid gloves. He's the best player on the team. He's paid like the best player on the team. He's one of, to me, 5 best players in this league. He cannot, under any circumstance, make a no-look pass in his back third like that. Pick your head up and know who is around you, man. You can't make a mistake like that when you are the captain of the team, the highest paid player on the team, and people will say and have been saying, well, he's done so much for us, it's a mistake. There are mistakes that happen in the game. Maybe you make a wrong choice on a break, whatever the case may be. That's fine. That's in the run of play. This was just pick your head up, man. It's a 2-second check to see who's behind you. That is elementary. And your captain has to be held to a higher standard. Your best player has to be held to a higher standard. And I'm sorry, but saying pick up your head and make sure there's not a player from the opposing team over there before you pass the ball, that's not asking much.
Yeah, I think we got on him a few times about the there's too much swagger, just make the easy play. And I mean, like, whatever, it's MLS, it's a show. People want to see cool stuff like his Rabonas and whatever. But I could actually see a world, too, where this pass, like, yeah, even though it's a mistake, if Heinz-Eyck is inside and the ball doesn't, like, split him, so there's literally nobody between the attacker and the goal, it's just sort of like a, whoo, dodge that bullet. But between the positioning and the no look, and it almost looked like an excellent just through ball, like intentionally from a Frisco player. Charles, any thoughts here?
No, just echoing what Brad said. Like, I don't think that was a smart pass, even if it was on target. It's just one of those things that just kind of looks lazy. And for a team that struggles scoring goals like Dallas, just like giving, one of their designated players just an immediate chance on goal just set the tone for the entire match.
Yeah, and I mean, even if it ends up as like a corner or whatever, it's like, well, you didn't need to give him that.
Yeah, I mean,
Josh Wolf loves. What does Josh love to say, guys? Goals change games, right? You can't put yourself in a hole 4 minutes into the contest because your captain didn't have the sits to pick up his head and see where he was passing the ball. You just can't do that. Not in this league.
I actually found it a little funny for a couple reasons, but I'll do one of them first. We had talked all last week about how this game was going to show if we're ever going to come out of our shell on the road and how it's going to tell us so much about how we view like road matches going forward. And it just all blew up as soon as Driussi hit that pass because it completely altered the game state. Like you said, goals change games.
It forced us to play more open.
Yeah, and it was a totally different game from there. Any little bit of fun irony you got out of when playing it out of the back goes wrong that wasn't Josh Wolf's fault? I laughed a little bit about it later, but I guess with how furious you still are about it.
Yeah, people make mistakes. I can get over that. Like sports are sports, mistakes happen. It's more just the immediacy from some of this fan base to just be like, well, it's Driussi, so that's okay. But when a kid who was last year making barely anything, and Keller makes a mistake and never even got a shot, crucified for the whole year, right? Rigoni, man, stay on him. The guy's been it's mess up after mess up after mess up. My point being is that we need to be able to hold our best players to a higher standard. That's part of being a professional athlete, is holding your best players to the higher standard. That's the way this goes. And
yeah,
I don't feel like you're asking much standard-wise. I didn't ask him to go out there and score 3 goals last night. I'm just saying pick up your head before you make a pass. That's all.
Oh, I'm going to confidently tell you this was worse than the Kip Keller one. At least, at the very least, if the Keller stuff where Stroud kind of like playgrounded him, this is way worse.
I don't disagree.
Yeah. Charles, any thoughts here?
I don't know that it's way worse. I feel as though like the Keller one is just like a complete brain fart due to Jared Stroud's Dark Jedi tactics. Because there was at least like a defender in play last night. Like Stroud basically had nothing but Stuver to score a goal there. And I think the better part of the Keller one of why it's so memorable is just that we have that picture of Kip like bringing his hands to his head and everyone in the crowd doing the exact same thing like it's a Renaissance painting. It's also just to some extent, like, you said it's not a fault of Wolf, but Wolf likes to play out of the back and he wants to control the game through controlling the ball. And when you do that, you open yourself up to problems like this and mistakes like this. And that's just an inherent like part of the calculus.
Yeah, but this wasn't like, I don't think that was like a set played out of the back. Otherwise Heinzek wouldn't have been there. I think Driussi just sort of looked or like didn't even look around and just went, hey, I'm going to go through the motions and smack it backwards and then we'll reset. But I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of part of it to me is that like it was so early in the game. I think that like there wasn't a like rhythm set up yet.
Mm-hmm.
The goal that it reminded me of was I think it was against Red Bull when was it Red Bull or Orlando City at home when Stuver just mishit a kick right at somebody and they scored immediately. Like it was like first minute, and it's just like sometimes those things happen, but they happen more if your plan is to try to play more in your own third.
Definitely would have been Red Bulls because Red Bulls was the home game where Andrew Tarbell threw the ball into his own net, so Stuver wouldn't have been playing.
Oh, yep, definitely. I blocked that out of my memory, even though it's legitimately one of the funniest things I've ever seen happen on a soccer field. In hindsight, like it's funny now.
Yeah, he also, our good friend Tarbs, missed the game-ending penalty in U.S. Open Cup over the week, too. So we got a little schadenfreude going here, but there was a rest of the game. First half, I think, plenty of chances for us, maybe half chances. We're not, like, knocking the door down or anything, but I thought we had the better of the ball. I was screaming for us to play a ball over the top to Obrian or somebody about 1,000 times. Mm-hmm. I want to say in the 6th minute, Rigoni had him with literally half the field. Short pass, Driussi, you go figure it out. They finally have time to, figure it out and track back on D. But there were 3, 4, 5 of those where it was just like, even if you don't get it, like keep him honest, hit it over the top or play it on the ground and let him run in behind because I don't think they're going to catch him. Any thoughts from you guys?
Yeah, that happened. There was a moment late in the first half where Rigoni kind of like laid the ball off to Biru and made a run. And as the camera kind of pans out, you can tell that Rigoni would have easily gotten in behind because none of their defenders had even turned yet. And he was basically even with them. and Beaver just doesn't hit the pass over, and you just see that over and over again of just like there are willing runners there, and there is some pace on the wings now, and Austin has to do that to try to get those defenders running backwards, because we see it against us all the time and especially last night when the defense started pushing up, of how easy it is to create scoring chances when you don't have defenders back there. I thought, just to kind of keep like in chronological order, like a couple minutes after the goal, there was the moment where I forget which FC Dallas player did it, but just grabbed Danny Pereira by the collar, and the ref called the foul immediately. But the advantage was Rigoni had the ball on the left and in a scoring opportunity and puts the ball away. It's unclear how much the Dallas players are turned off at that point based on the foul call, but I don't think the keeper had. I thought that was a huge mistake by the ref of not playing advantage when it was a clear situation of it. And also, I think there should be more discussion about whether or not that's a red card, because that just blatantly just, not to compare it to American football, but like you can't even tackle somebody in American football that way.
No, I was going to say it's a classic horse collar tackle. Rip him down by the back.
And that just being a yellow card and taking away a clear like advantage opportunity was just really bad officiating.
Yeah, I actually, because the foul is so shocking, I can sort of understand him being like, holy shit, and blowing the whistle. I think longtime listeners will know my opinion about whether Rigoni would have scored that chance in live play, but that's neither here nor there. I'm with you. I would have, because this is actually like two fouls. He grabs him, and then he continues to hold on to him, and then he rips him down. It's not like one motion. I think you got a good case for like a double yellow or a red there. Like, I'm not going to scream at the officials about not giving that, especially when there's plenty of stuff that is way more controversial that hasn't been given in leagues across the world lately. But yeah, I don't think they could have complained if they gave him one. Brad, any thoughts here?
No, I am right there with you guys. It was a dangerous play to pull him down from behind. Like you mentioned, there's a reason that it's outlawed in American football.
Yeah. Endangering the safety of an opponent is a red
that's
card.
That's how you injure someone. So I wish they let the play go on because Rigoni wasn't in. Also agree that I'm not sure Rigoni actually finished the chance if the whistle was blown. But the things that got me in the first half last night, one you hit on, and you and I actually mentioned it in the game chat last night, which was the balls over the top. Just they were there. There were several times where we could have hit the ball as far as you wanted to, and runners were still in our own half, much like the Obrian goal from a few weeks ago with Galaxy.
Yes, I want to see more of that goal, please.
Yeah, it was there, and you just hit the damn ball. We're in our own half. You can't be offside. Go, have fun. And it seemed like nobody was picking their head up to look for that pass, which was frustrating. The other thing was, in the first 10 or 15 minutes, Dallas played very differently than they did the last 75 or so. 10 or 15, they played a little more pressing style. They were up on us. They were forcing us to play out of the back and really putting pressure on us to make movements with the ball. The rest of the game, they fell back. And this is when the game tide started to turn as far as just our ability to get shots and put pressure on them. They fell back into exactly what they did at Q2, which was let us walk the ball into their half and create chances and try to hit us on the counter. Where they weren't able to hit us on the counter in Q2, they obviously did last night. But they quickly and kind of surprisingly fell back into a game plan that I don't think is successful for them long term. I was kind of surprised it held up, honestly.
I wonder how much of that is Nico Estevez buying another week.
Oh, Josh Wolf saved his job last night.
Yeah. Josh Wolf saved his job. All right, do tell.
Oh no! So I actually said that. I actually don't think last night was on Josh Wolf. I thought the game plan made sense. I thought the way we attacked the game was fine. We had chances, and I'm not going to put the pass on Driussi on Wolf. That cost us at least a point, if not more, because it obviously changes the game flow. But yeah, I mean, it's Austin FC saved Nico's job last night. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, Charles, I'm going to bring you in here in a second, but I think you do have to give Mr. Wolf a bit of blame Not necessarily like on a full, he screwed up all the tactics or anything like that. But a lot of our play was funneled through one Mr. Wriggles that we mentioned before. And the guy couldn't hit water if he fell out of a fucking boat. And he missed good chance after good chance after good chance. And Josh keeps writing him on the team sheet. You can say we don't have any better options, but I mean, go throw CJ out there, throw Owen out there. We've had this conversation a bunch of times. At some point, and I mean, this is 2 years now of Josh having this guy, like you got to figure out he doesn't have it and quit playing him. So I think on that level, yeah, you do have to blame Wolf quite a bit. But Charles, any thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's difficult to think about what the game would have been considering it changed so quickly.
Yeah. And I'm not laying off Driussi on that either.
Yeah, and I mean, like Josh says, like goals change games and they change strategies. I thought Dallas kind of played the way they wanted to play. They sat back defensively. They were pretty sound, I thought, in terms of their back line and their midfield, protecting the box, especially against crosses. Like there was space there just because of where the wingbacks were in relation to our wingers. But ultimately, like if their plan is, try to get a goal and then sit back defensively and let our two DPs counterattack, like that's not a bad plan in MLS. Like that's a plan that can work. I think for them, their biggest problem is that they just haven't been able to get early goals and to be in the lead. They're a team that I think front running wise is going to be, once they get a lead, they're going to be difficult to beat. Because I don't think they've, besides the match at Q2, but like, that plan works and it can work. And that's why they've invested the money in the DPs they have.
Sure. I mean, it's Nashville's whole model, right? Like sit deep and then hit it to our Bundesliga kick and run merchant.
Yeah, exactly. And like Ferrer can do that. And him and Musa were, haven't been able to really link up this year yet, partially because of injuries and partially just because of like integrating players together. But I thought they looked good last night. And if that's the kind of like level that they're able to play in terms of countering, like it can work.
Yeah, I was actually impressed how much more gelled they looked versus, I guess Ferreira didn't really play in the home game against us, but they looked, Dallas as a team, I thought looked much more gelled. Brad, any thoughts here?
No, I think everything you guys are saying makes sense to me. I kind of, my whole first half thoughts in the way that we played was we had a chance. We had multiple chances. Dallas was inviting us to score and trying to hit the counter. And I know it can work in the league, but it doesn't negate the fact that we did have several really good looks. And you asked about, well, why is Rigoni being funneled through? I think an argument can be made, should he have started? Okay, fair. But why was it so much play being funneled that side? It's because Dallas was taking out Obrian. They had focused. I think they understood that on the wings, our threat is Obrian. So if Rigoni beats you, that's fine, but don't let Obrian beat you on the right.
No, that actually factored into one of, probably our biggest chance is basically Biru got tired of putting up with Wriggles' shit and then just took a whack at one. Yeah. There's some nice developmental play along the edge when he just found himself nearish the goal and went, screw it, I'll do it myself, and hit a nice little daisy cutter off the post.
And I think Biru is just going to continue to get more aggressive on that left side. He looks so much more comfortable in the team.
Yep.
I feel the confidence I feel when he's out there versus, and I don't think Kolmanich is a bad player, but Biru just brings an extra dimension that Kolmanich does not in the attack. I've quickly come to just absolutely adore this guy on the wing.
Yeah, he's fun too.
At the left back spot, sorry.
Yeah. No, like when he first came in, we were like, okay, this guy's got some offense to him, and then started playing a lot better defensively, and it's like, oh, this guy's a really solid player. And naturally now, I don't know if we've heard an injury report on him yet, but he went off hurt yesterday.
Yeah, what I'm interested in when we get back to the Rigoni conversation is what does the 11 look like Wednesday night? Because it's the first 3-game week of the season. So we're not just going to likely roll back. I think there's two options. I think you either roll back the 11 you ran Saturday, because if you ever really paid attention to what Josh and High Performance Team has said, they said 72 hours is what they need to get back to full strength. Well, that gets you easily to Wednesday. But what it doesn't do is get you Wednesday to Saturday, because there's only Thursday, Friday between game days again. You're going to have to rotate some in here during the week. The question is, do you rotate Wednesday or do you rotate on Saturday, which I think could be a possibility. I think Rigoni going all 90 minutes maybe is a tip of the hand that CJ might see some more minutes on Wednesday night. Ethan being injured obviously hurts our wing depth ability, but Owen is kind of a Swiss Army knife who can play midfield or wing for us. So I'm super curious to see how Josh approaches Wednesday night now, especially because Hector Herrera is back healthy. Is Danny the guy we want playing defensive mid, or do we want more defensive bite with Valencia back there?
I don't know. I would think, especially after losing last night and putting yourself in a lot bigger of a question mark hole, jeopardy, whatever you want to call it, for Copa Tejas, that Josh apparently cares about now. I would think you would prioritize that Derby game. Obviously going to be worth something in the standings too. Yeah, and hope you can put it more together against Kansas City. I don't know. Charles, what do you think?
Yeah, because especially like Houston's going to be playing their third match in 8 days, I think, because of U.S. Open Cup last week. I mean, they're going to have to rotate some too. To me, it makes more sense to rotate in and probably start Owen and Fodry on the wings. I think midfield-wise, I mean, why don't you see like Azarda's up front start, crazily enough? But I think besides that, like, I don't expect Heinz like and Julio to not start. Coleman probably gets a start since Bureau was out, and then probably Gallagher on right back again. I don't know that the midfield will change that much. I kind of get the impression that Josh is just going to kind of keep rolling out the same lineup.
Yeah, and I don't know if we're at the point where pushing them 3 times in 8 days, like once, is really going to like hurt people too much. Obviously, each player is different. They'll each have their own kind of analysis. Some of the guys we pulled off a little early. I would expect that's why Rubio was subbed off, is so he could play again Wednesday. Because I know he's still not 100% 90-minute fit, but I don't know. We'll see. I think it definitely, even if we'd gotten a draw last night, that sort of changes the calculus, but getting nothing makes this a lot more complicated and a little closer to a must-win at least. But yeah, let's get back to the first half. Other big chance for me that I don't think we actually even ended up getting a shot on. We had a nice through ball into Rubio, who lets it run across him, and then for some reason when he's like 8 feet from the goal, doesn't take a whack at it. He like shuffles it onto one of his other feet and like takes it to the end line, tries to cross it back.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's just like a weird one-time play or he's not confident shooting or what's going on, but did that strike either of you two as odd?
Charles, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't sure to think about that when I was watching it this morning. I was just kind of like, it feels like some players are just like interested in shooting and some aren't. And I can't figure out why like that seems to happen just as like a default option in their brains. But O'Brien seems to be one that just like isn't as willing to pull the trigger on a shot as much as he should be.
Yeah, this one into Rubio, like into the box, I couldn't understand not taking a first time shot on it.
Yeah.
Unless his steps just got crossed up, which is possible. Yeah, it bothered me he didn't try to first time that though, because he had an angle, he was in behind, and we had played that pass a couple of times already. In different points, and it hadn't really gone all the way through, and this one finally made it through. It would have been one of our best looks. And then, between him and then you mentioned Obrian, who in the first and second half, and he's starting to have this part about him that's bothering me and that was developing throughout the season, which is once he gets the ball at his feet, he does not look to pass too often and wants to dance with the ball, and then ultimately gets dispossessed a lot. I don't necessarily want guys who are afraid to shoot because I do want him shooting, but I also need him with his head up more because he misses open runs on the other side a lot because he's constantly looking to beat a guy one-on-one.
Yeah, and I mean, that's probably part of the reason we got him on the supplemental draft, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure coaches, we talked about this with Riggles, right? Like, I'm sure coaches have looked at that and went, oh, I can fix that his whole career. And, I'm sure somebody can, but we just need to do it.
I mean, you can't coach speed. You see it,
true.
like the physicality of it, like, oh, he's really fast, he's good on the ball, like he's agile, like we'll figure this out, we'll make his decision making better. And some guys just never do. Like that's just the thing. But he has elite speed at this league, and he's always going to be a player that you can, at least trick yourself into thinking you can fix.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point, if he's just elite speed and some shots with where our roster is at, fine.
Yeah, because if he's like I don't know. I still think the issue is more that like if he's a 25-minute off the bench guy counterattacking, when the other team's pushing up, like he's tremendous. Like that's exactly what you want, like a Michael Barrios type. It's just that if you're relying on him to go, 65, 70 minutes and start every week, then that's a problem.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe we can, talking about roster build, and move that down the line. Like, okay, he starts a little while for us and then get a better player in, and bam, he's your guy off the bench, and now he has more experience. And that's how building a roster is sort of supposed to work. And ideally, we would have been doing that from year 1, not year 4, but here we are. Any other chances or notes on the first half you guys want to handle?
I thought the beer shot off the post was really good. And I think the thing that kind of got lost in it is that if Driussi's like half a step to his right, it just randomly knocks off his knee and scores.
Yep.
He was just so close, and like just like that run coming in was just like a little bit off, and goes to show just like I think that play is like perfectly emblematic of just like the small margins in soccer of like, if it's another quarter inch here or there, it's either a goal or not a goal, or it goes off gets a cheap rebound goal kind of a thing. And, that chance didn't fall for us.
Yeah, the announcers seemed convinced that Pice got a finger to it, and I don't think he touched it at all. Either you, announcer, or me, agree, disagree?
I didn't think he got on it.
No, okay.
I just kind of assume anything the Apple TV announcers say is wrong.
Yeah, that's it was pretty close to that. Yeah, and like one of the announcers yesterday had a really weird, like he had like 5 accents all in one, and I couldn't figure it out. But after the Driussi back pass, that was not even like registering on my annoyance scale. So halftime comes, no brawl this week. Sorry. Roulette second half, and it's kind of more of the same. I don't actually remember the order this is in. Is the big chance that Riggles misses at the back post before or after the second goal?
After we were chasing.
After. Okay.
No, I think it was before, because the announcer just said something about. Yeah, it was before. There was that one, and there was the Cascante header on the back post that Pice got to.
Yeah, I think both of those were because the Cascante one was right before the second goal.
Yeah.
So I don't know. At some point it happened, but basically this like magical unmarked guy ghosting to the back post that we keep getting scored on, both Austin FC and the U.S. national team, U.S. men's national team. Love to give up. We get that chance, and Riggles ends up with like, I think he's like a half beat off how he approaches it, but he like shanks it pretty hard, and all you really had to do was put it on net. Any thoughts there, Charles?
Just pure frustration, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Find a way to put it on the net from 4 feet out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't need to put the laces through it at all. He just needed to side foot it and just direct it, and you don't need to overcomplicate that chance.
Just cushion it into the back of the net, pass it in. Which I believe, I didn't double check this, but both us and Frisco had 2 big chances, and I believe that was the only big chance missed in the game. And we end up losing 2-1. So sometimes them's the breaks. I guess let's talk about the Julio one too, because the announcer made a big thing about how this is almost the exact minute that Julio Cascante scored and started the comeback for Austin FC in the home match before. And I was like, oh yeah, I totally forgot about that. And I kind of watched the playback, and Julio actually does an amazing job on this because it's mostly a broken ass play. And we just sort of winged out a bad cross, and he got a great header on net, and it was a good save. And at that point, I kind of felt like, well, we're kind of screwed. We're not going to come back in this game. Like, we're not going to score, which is, half right. But Brad, you were watching live. How was that one hitting you?
Yeah, I thought Julio did a good job getting it on net, right? So I'm trying to remember. I haven't gone back and rewatched it, but I think he was surrounded by a couple of guys.
Yeah, he jumps above 3 guys.
Yeah, he actually did a really good job to get his head on it. And credit to Poss. Like, Poss put himself in a. We talk about Stuber's positioning all the time, right? It's like some of the saves he makes is just because of his positional awareness. Poss did a really good job last night of positional awareness on that play to make sure he was in the right spot. So just, you know what, tip your cap to him. But Julio did a really hell of a job to get his head on that, being surrounded by as many Dallas guys as he was there.
Yeah, good play, kind of attacker, and well saved by the new Indonesian number 1. Charles, any thoughts here?
You got it before me. I was going to say that plays like that are why Indonesia wants him as a keeper. I mean, he is also just like he's a good MLS keeper. Part of it was just that like the ball from Gallagher was a little too high and took a little too long to get there, so it kind of let everybody center underneath it. But I mean, that's like again, like if you get Julio on the back post winning a header, like that's a good process for Austin.
Yeah. That's why Julio's out there for the most part, right? Like he's a decent defender, and the idea is he's going to make up for some mistakes with smacking the ball in a few times. I still want to see the Julio center forward at the end of the game experiment, like for realsies, but this is a nice reminder that he does have some solid offensive threat. Do we have to talk about the bad thing now?
Oh, we should talk about the bad thing.
Okay. Charles, you sound enthusiastic. Tell us about the bad thing.
So we talked about it earlier about like Dallas is kind of like sitting back and counterattacking, but one of the things that is emblematic on this play is that just because they were sitting back doesn't mean they still weren't applying pressure at times. The Dallas player wins a ball from Austin by kind of like springing like a half, like in their own half kind of press situation.
Yep.
Makes a pass to Musa, and Ferrer's making the run. I don't know why Austin wasn't trying to play an offside trap in that situation, because 3 different players basically by a half step kept him on side, including Biru, who really should have just stopped running, because that also may have been the play that he was injured on. We hadn't seen that in a while because Austin had been so good at being defensive and staying back. And that was just like a reminder of why like the wolf ball style of like possession and pushing forward is always just on that knife's edge of giving up a counterattack goal, because the center backs aren't fast enough to track back. And if you lose the ball at all, besides like basically in the opponent's box, that's going to happen, and that's going to be a risk. Also like credit Musa and Ferreira for like linking up like that. Ferreira he's the youngest MLS player to get 50 goals. And at some point, if he's not going to move to Europe, and that seems less and less likely by the day, he's going to set a lot of MLS records, because he started young enough and he's been good enough that there's really nothing that he can't attain if he stays here.
I really did like the idea that he was going to get shipped off to Russia. But, oh well. I think underrated, like, you have the announcers talking about Ferreira's clean through and he scores and all this stuff. By the way, it was really funny that Alex Ring, like, tackled him after the goal. But underrated on that play is how, like, inch perfect that pass is. Like, we're not, slamming the gate shut. There's still an opening there, but to get, like, the weight on that pass where Ferreira has plenty of time to kind of, like, catch his own stride, take his time, get the ball set up and shoot it past Stuber. Thought it was a great pass.
Yeah.
And like you said, there's three guys who are kind of playing him on. Like Heinzike's trying to block the pass, and Julio and Biru are both like half caught in like, oh shit, I should be playing an offside trap, but I realized it about a step and a half too late. Do you think Biru hurts himself before the pass or like running back? Because I watched it twice. Yeah, I watched it twice, and like on one, I was like, "Oh, is he like injuring himself, like trying to stop and play that offside trap?" Or, I mean, we might have a better answer whenever we find out what's actually wrong with him, but who knows? Yeah, but it was very much a throwback to a "Why is Julio chasing people on the half line" goal that listeners know I love so very much. Brad, you want to give us your thoughts?
No, I mean, you guys covered it. It was so they had been setting up the potential counterattack since 15, 20 minutes in.
Because
And
Briusi gave them a goal.
yeah, I mean, they ever since they got it, they fell back and they started playing this game where let you walk it up, try to turn you over in our half, and then open up space behind us. They tried to hit it a few times. We got back, and then we finally were split too wide. The center backs were split pretty far out, trying to get into the attack a little more and move some things around. And as soon as that turnover happened, there was no time to respond. So it's what it is. They invited us to play that way. We were playing successfully that way until we didn't for a split second, and it burned us. And credit to Dallas. Like, they got two really good chances in the game, and they put both of them away.
Yep. And sometimes that's all you have to do.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, they created the two best non-penalty chances in the game by a lot. And granted, one of those is off of a mistake, but also like you still have to convert those, and you still have to have players in position. Like Austin never gets the benefit of those mistakes or errors or goals like that because we don't ever press high like that.
No, and we're usually like maybe not on that one, but it doesn't feel like we push errors the same way that kind of came out.
Mm.
And I mean, we talk about that a fair amount, but we're doing a little more of it this year. But it's like, okay, we got the ball back. Let's go ahead and cycle it back to everyone and make sure everybody gets a touch and that whole mentality instead of just like an error. Fuck, let's go. Which is what it should be.
The Galaxy, the goal that Rubio scored against the Galaxy, maybe the only one I can consider this year that we kind of immediately turned around and pushed into after turning the other team over in their own half, that we pushed and not cycled it around and found a goal quickly.
The Rubio or the one where like Ring tackles it and then whacks it over the top to Obrian?
No, the Rubio goal, because we actually turned them over in their own half on the sideline.
Gotcha, yeah.
Yeah, and about 4 touches later, the ball was in the back of the net.
Oh, yeah. Okay, gotcha. Sorry, we're just scoring too many goals. I can't remember them all. All right. Did you guys think that was game over when that second one went in? Because I was sort of like, Austin doesn't score
100%.
goals on the road. They sure as shit don't score two.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty much over just from the sense that like I didn't see how Austin was going to create a goal. And and we're kind of fortunate in the sense that like, talk about mistakes, like Dallas gave us a penalty in what was one of the dumbest fouls you'll ever see on a soccer pitch. Just like hacking somebody down who's not facing the goal, who's running away from the goal even in the box. Like that is one of the dumbest things you'll ever see somebody do.
That's the second time that's happened for us this year.
Yep. I think Owen actually like shapes his body really well where he's like, all right, either I'm going to get the ball or you got to run over me. And like in the box, you're thinking, all right, well, I got the ball. I just decided to run him over instead and give up a penalty. So, I mean, like a little credit to Owen for earning it and putting himself in that spot where the defender had two bad choices, but it's on the defender for taking the way worse one.
I mean, the choice there is you don't commit a foul in the box and you just let him run out of the box and just like live on to defend. And like this, and like they're just like, oh, you know what? I'm just gonna hack the guy. Like that's the dumbest thing you could have done by far.
Yeah, gave us a little bit of hope, but I guess we did have one chance after that. Obviously, Driussi takes the penalty and scores it. Nothing really controversial there. We did have one last little chance to kind of get when we have the ball down the side, and then like it kind of squirts around, and Fodry ends up with it on basically the touch line, and tries to like hammer blow it past the keeper, and it kind of bounces out. And for some reason, Zardes was standing behind the fucking net and comes back on and plays it offside, and the move's dead. But there's a little bit of comedy at the end there.
Also, one of the dumbest things you'll ever see on a soccer pitch.
Yeah, it wasn't. I don't know. It was a very MLS-y night. Let's say that. It was. By that point, I was laughing at it.
I thought Fodry looked good last night in his minutes. He made some dangerous plays. Did a really nice job of combining on the left side with Kalmanich.
Yep.
To get into good spots. He was a little late getting back after I think he had an errant pass at one point. A little late getting back, struggling. On
he had one that definitely made you kind of go, ooh. But yeah, it's gonna, he's 20. It's gonna happen.
From a young player, it's one of those things, like he's a young player, I can kind of look over that a little bit because there's so many other positives throughout the night that I'm like, okay, it's a learning process on that aspect. But I think he actually gets his first start this week. I just don't know which game. Something tells me it might be Wednesday night, though, because Rigoni played a full 90.
Put a little psychological terror in Houston's minds that we're going to root one them again. Possibly. I mean, the only other real option is to play Owen on the wing and opposite Obrian. But Hader is much better on the right, as is Owen. So I don't know that you want to play Owen on the left wing because you would lose a lot there, whereas you can actually play a natural left winger in CJ. Yeah, I still don't think Wolf's going to start him, but I would be perfectly happy if he does. And we'll see. Charles, any thoughts on CJ's performance that last little bit, or whether you think he gets a start this week?
He should definitely get a start. I think he looks good. I think this is the right way to kind of just like bring along a young player into the team, of just giving him 15 or 20 minutes at the end of the match and a spot start when we need him. And that's, having an expert team that's good and being able to bring up players is exactly why you have it. And so hopefully this is just a sign of things to come, that every year there's a couple new young players who can fill out the roster squad depth wise.
Yeah. And I guess too, in the past, we would have looked at possibly having Gallagher come up and play wing, but he's not having a great season. And we got rid of a lot of our kind of longer depth since Nick Lima is now trying to fist fight his coach up in New England. I guess you could play Hector a game. By the way. What'd you say?
I'm taking Nick Lima in that fight, by the way.
Yeah.
There was a lot of anger on the East Coast yesterday between that and the end of the Toronto game last night.
Yeah, let's wrap the Austin game real quick and then talk about some MLS fuckery. Subs, I kind of thought were mostly geared for preserving legs for the rest of the week. Like, you see Zardes come on when we're chasing a game and you kind of go, oh, fuck, and then you realize it's probably so Rubio can start Wednesday, or at least play some major minutes Wednesday. We said CJ was good, San was fine. Any other kind of general sub thoughts from you, Charles?
I don't know. The Apple TV announcer said that Jesse Zardes is the kind of player who can inspire a comeback, which is high comedy.
It's an interesting choice of words. Like, he can rah the rest of the team to run past him and score.
Yeah, I didn't understand what that meant either. I think it's just one of those things of this is the roster. There isn't Josh doesn't have a lot of choices in what to do if he's trying to make subs out, and that just kind of by necessity. But also at the same time, like you said, when Rubio goes out, I have no confidence the striker's going to score them.
Yeah, at that point, we're playing for set pieces for me.
Or just do the Julio Cascante at striker thing. If we have so many healthy center backs, let's just throw Julio up top and bring on Hedges to play center back.
I'm only 30% joking about that at this point, if not lower.
I'm not sure I'm joking about it at all at this point. I think Julio is much more likely to score as a striker than Zardes.
Yeah, I guess our other sub we had that we didn't mention yet, Valencia, did have a hell of a chance. Hit a little half volley sidewinder that just barely went over the bar.
Yeah, I raised my eyebrows at the Valencia sub at first because you're trying to chase the game, and that's not usually the guy you bring on to chase the game. Um, However, I guess Danny was on a yellow. We do have 2 games coming up this week, and Valencia probably helps add a little bit to the back line where you can push some other guys up, like a Cascante, who maybe is more offensive. So I was a little surprised to see him in there, but yeah, the chance he had, the shot he had was really solid. I for a second thought it was going in. The only sub I kind of thought was a little eyebrow raising at the time, besides like Valencia for a second until you thought about it, was when Owen came in. I thought maybe that was a little early. I would have liked to have seen CJ in there earlier than Owen because it was pretty apparent that we needed more speed and more creativity down the wings. And I thought his sub came later. If you'd have brought Owen in the 70th, 75th, like we did with CJ, I wouldn't have thought twice about it because, yes, Owen drew the foul, but what difference for his sub, what difference in the field is he making is the question I'm asking. Whereas CJ for Rigoni or Oberon, whoever, I can tell you what the difference is. Fresh lights. So
that's sort of what I meant about the subs being very scripted and not attuned to game state too.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, they might have been like, well, we're down 2 goals. We're not coming back. Like, screw it. Let's just get our motions and our reps in, and we'll make sure everybody's on board with the way they're playing. Joining us late in the game as we're finishing up the game recap, it's Seth, who knows everything. Seth, can you give us just sort of like your general quick feels about the game, and then we're going to talk about some MLS fuckery?
Sure. Yeah, no, I was downstate in Southern Illinois yesterday, so I did not get to watch the match live. So it actually works out that my Amtrak was very delayed coming back up to the northern parts of the state. But yeah, no, don't give away stupid mistakes, which I'm sure you guys have covered over the last 40 or so minutes. Don't make dumb mistakes. Take advantage of your opportunities. And possession-based football wins XG, but doesn't necessarily win games.
Yeah, and I mean that's pretty much the game recap too, and we beat it to death, right? If your whole away strategy is, play very conservatively and try to, nick a goal later, you can't give up a goal in the 4th minute. Throws the whole plan into array. But all right, Brad, you want to talk about some people fighting?
Yeah, Toronto and New York last night. End of the game. Sean Johnson, a keeper for Toronto. I didn't see who he got into it with New York or exactly what caused it. There's a lot of questions going on, but there's a lot of pushing and shoving on the broadcast, but alternate angles apparently may be showing that there were some punches thrown by coaches this morning.
So I think some of the punches were thrown in the last match.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is the second time they played this year. So when they played at as I say, somewhere in the 5 boroughs of New York. I don't remember if it was at Yankee Stadium or at Citi Field in the first match. There's a story that Nick Cushing, the NYCFC coach, threw some punches at the Toronto side. If that is true, obviously the guy should be banned for managing an MLS. But it's also John Herdman who is telling the story, who's not always the most reliable narrator of things. He's very good at motivating his team. I mean, Toronto, even with the loss yesterday, is much better than we expected them to be this year. But sometimes coaches who are good at motivating aren't necessarily good with all the facts. I mean, the first thing I hear is like, holy crap, black goalie is insulted by player from Eastern European descent. Oh, shit, here we go again. But I don't know if that's actually what happened here. So hopefully some more details will come out on this. But it definitely seems like there's some bad blood. And, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that as a playoff series at some point. Because imagine a rare benefit of a best of 3. Let that simmer some more. Whew.
Seth, as of today, they're the 4-5.
Yes, perfect.
Stop the count. I did watch a video of this, and what struck me as weird is like you see these soccer fights every now and then where like bench is clear and like a couple of guys are going after each other, but like the staffs are actually the ones like getting into fights, not like trying to break it up. So I'm sure it's like the video tech and like the set piece coach from each team are like shoving each other and screaming at each other. And I think a couple were going after players, but this might be one that I hope somebody does like a really solid YouTube deep dive on.
I mean, We could get John Boy involved in this. And honestly, like this is the biggest fight in Toronto in like 5 days since the Drake Kendrick Lamar feud is, I guess, sort of stopped or gone down to a simmer. So like they needed something else to fight about.
I mean, God knows their hockey team didn't put up a fight. So
yeah,
Oh,
but they never do. So that's
no. They're used to it. People have walked on the moon more recently than the Toronto Maple Leafs have won a Stanley Cup.
yeah, I heard a Maple Leafs fan went to a bar not long ago and was only willing to buy the first round.
Hey, I've heard about 20 variants of that joke, and it's still funny. Yeah, I don't know. The rest of the league kind of in. Yeah.
No, there was some interesting results last night. So Colorado blew a 2-0 lead at home to San Jose, which was I when that game started, I figured last week game was a bit of an anomaly for San Jose, but San Jose is truly turning back into chaos. San Jose again.
Good.
Yeah,
The best kind of San Jose.
Know who you are, San Jose.
Philly lost at home to Orlando. Bit surprising there, considering how bad Orlando's been this year. Cincinnati goes on the road to beat Columbus, and Columbus is on full rest.
As I say, first time that FC Cincinnati has ever won in Columbus.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also like it's only been 6 years, but still, like that's the first time they've ever won in Columbus. They've gotten draws.
We've never won in Frisco, have we? Same idea.
Nope. Yes.
Nope.
There's a few
Same
like
idea,
Boston
so
hasn't
it's-
won yet. Just FYI.
Yeah, but I mean, the list is actually not that long, Charles. Like, if you look at it, because I ran this because I'm a nerd who does this. So we haven't won in Vancouver, we haven't won in Portland, we haven't won in Carson, and we haven't won in St. Louis.
Or San Jose.
Or San Jose. Yeah, those are the 5. So we have won at 8 of the Western Conference venues.
Yeah, and we're pretty good against the
Sorry,
East on the road.
Frisco, we haven't. So 7. Okay, so a majority. Yeah, good, but not amazing.
Couple of
A lot of Eastern Conference venues that we've won at.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's still a couple of other really interesting scores last night too. Like Miami and Montreal played a hell of a match. That was fun.
Miami has gotten to a point where they've conceded the first goal in their last 7 matches and won 5 in a row. Like what? Only in MLS. Only in MLS.
They fell behind 2-0 last night pretty quick. DC, man, Benteke with a hat trick. Stroud had at least 2 of the assists from what I saw. Yeah, he put two right on the platter for Benteke in the 6. Like, good. I mean, it was ridiculous. And then late last night, RSL's up 2-0 in Carson and blows the lead and walks out with a draw.
Ooh.
Like, yeah, it was a really fun day of MLS yesterday. And the crazy thing is, as good as the day was, and MLS all week has said rivalry week. They're doing the 2 stupidest things they could possibly do, because of course MLS is going to do this with their broadcast partners. One, they put Hell is Real on national TV last night at the same time as all the other games that are on Apple TV. So your national TV showcase in the evening, instead of playing at like noon or something before the NBA playoffs yesterday, makes no sense.
It's Central Ohio in May. The weather is lovely to play in the afternoon. There's no issue with this. Actually, right now we're recording this on Sunday afternoon. Heck is Plausible, the only MLS Next Pro derby that I know of that has its own name, is going on right now at Lower.com Field at 2 o'clock on a Sunday. You're telling me that, or 3 o'clock Eastern time. Like, you're telling me they couldn't have played at 3 o'clock Eastern time yesterday? Like, give me a break.
Or even, like I said, play at noon Eastern before the playoffs. NBA playoffs, I think, tipped at 2:30 Central yesterday. Yeah. So play at noon or 1 yesterday before the NBA starts, and you've got your own window with nothing against you. And then today, your other rivalry week national TV game, you're putting on the 2 of the worst teams in the West. I know it's Seattle-Portland. I get that it's historic rivalry in this league, but you've got to start creating some kind of flex scheduling in this league like the NFL has, to where you can put your best matchups on as the season goes.
But MLS has not got – this is one of the major problems with this league. This league doesn't actually drive – outside of Messi, doesn't know how to drive storylines. And you get to a point here, their storylines are, we're going to go put matchups that are usually really good And like this is one of those matchups. Like, I mean, how many times have we seen like a Bears Packers game on Monday Night Football when neither team really deserves to be on there? Only one team deserves to be on there. You get to a world of like a Seattle Portland game. Like, I'm fine with this being a Sunday showcase game, but like when they started designing the schedule, like early on in the season, like I don't think anyone projected these teams were going to be 13th and 14th in the West.
Yeah, you gotta. This is the kind of thing where on Sundays, if they're going to put just have a national TV game, I'm of the argument you need to have two, where maybe one's an Apple TV game and one's a national TV game, and you can flex which one is going to be national TV like a week ahead of time. You could always change the kickoff times between the two games if you need to.
Yeah, they've been very hesitant to move around kickoff times for non-weather reasons. And like I get that like makes sense at a point. You want to plan things out ahead of time. But the fact that there's not two matches every Saturday afternoon and two matches every Sunday just seems like just a criminally wasted opportunity.
Yeah, I'm just I don't know, man. I'm of the opinion like as long as you don't move the day of the match, it's not that terrible. Just moving kickoff times is a little less bothersome to me if it's the same day of the match. For traveling fans trying to go day of the match, if you move a game to a Saturday to a Sunday, that's a little different. That changes the whole conversation.
Well, we talked about it a little bit too, right? Like, there's no, like, I'm not going to count the fucking UFL. There's no football right now. Baseball's in kind of like that, it's still early in the season period where, not a ton of people are paying super, super close attention. NBA and NHL playoffs are pretty much night games or late afternoon at this point. Go make Sunday your day early in the season.
Yeah.
Like you said, like have two time slots. You always know there's two big games every Sunday. Like it's actually amazing nobody's thought of it or like implemented it or anything because it's so obvious that you have to wonder like why they're not doing it.
Yeah, just copying the most popular sports league, because the one thing the NFL does that's better than anybody else is you know exactly when the games are going to be on and you know what channels they're going to be on. It's the easiest sport in the league in the world to follow. It's always on the same times. And MLS is not doing that, especially when they're not playing. Just seems like they're intentionally trying to outsmart themselves. And you're right. Like it's such an obvious thing. You have to wonder like who are the ad wizards who can't come up with this.
Yeah. I just look at today, right? If you wanted to play two national TV games and you had them today when there's literally nothing on, it saved that Columbus game last night and put it today as the lead into the Seattle game. Why not? Just make today your day, just like you guys are talking about.
Yeah, I have no idea. Like I get sometimes if you're trying not to compete with the NFL or like you don't want to start games at like 11 or something like that where you're like running into European games or something, but like throw it on at 1:00, throw it on at noon, whatever. Like maybe you'll miss a little bit of somebody catching like a late game. Like I'm watching La Liga right now, but like nobody's skipping like their hometown team to watch Betis play. I don't even remember who the fucking other team is.
Yeah, but you kind of, but La Liga's also not on. La Liga's not also on like ESPN right now, right? You're going ESPN Plus watching
ESPN Plus, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When Premier League, and you guys I know, though I don't really follow Premier League, but it usually ends 12 or 10, 12:30, 1 o'clock.
Usually, so the NBC usually has the Eastern 12:30 slot. So MLS usually tries to start their matches at 2:30 Eastern or later.
Yeah, so pick it up, roll right when that game ends, roll right into MLS action. There's no reason.
Well, you're making a good point here too about like ESPN Plus, like be the thing that's just on TV that's showing in bars or airports or what the fuck ever.
I mean, at a certain point, yesterday in the afternoon, I think you would to find a streaming option of a game, like you were going to like the second Bundesliga. And like I'm the person who likes watching the second Bundesliga because a team got promoted yesterday in the Saturday afternoon match. But like Eurovision was the best thing on television yesterday afternoon.
Well, let's not go that far. Charles, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's not praising Eurovision. Let's be very clear what I'm saying here.
Yeah.
No, but you're also right. Like, it just makes sense, like, from a perspective of, like, hey, soccer fans are watching TV. Let's just keep providing them soccer to keep watching. And making it, like, you mentioned, like, it being on, like, airports and bars and blah, blah, blah. Like, there is an advantage in being a ubiquitous thing that everybody sees, because it does make it just seem more popular, and just make it more available. I think my worry about the Apple TV deal, now that we're a little bit into it, is I'm worried that springing to a streaming service has may have happened too soon, and that there may have been more of a need to build up the like general viewership and fandom of MLS before making that jump, because other sports leagues, I mean, the NFL could do it right now. Like if they decided to, they could just be like, hey, anybody who wants to watch football has to pay $50 a month to blah blah blah, and they could just like print all the money that the networks give them now. But MLS isn't nearly to that kind of level.
No. Wasn't Apple the one that pushed for like this universal 7:30 home kickoff time?
Yes. They wanted predictability. But like, you could do predictability, as the EPL shows us. You have a 12:30 kick, you have a 3 o'clock kick, you have a 5:30 kick, you have a 2 o'clock kick on Sundays, a 4:30 kick on Sundays, and then occasionally your Friday or Monday 8 o'clock kick. It's not that hard. And NFL does something similar. Like, this isn't that hard.
Yeah,
like that's,
you can have, and I'm fine with most games being at their local 7:30 kick, right? As long as you have one game a week in 2 or 3 other time slots to spread it out a little bit.
what I mean, that's essentially what the NFL does. Like, your late games are usually on the West Coast. Maybe you'll have like one other big feature one, but it's, noon or 1 o'clock or whatever local time. Starts the same time every week, unless you're traveling or something. Like, that sounds like something you would do for like a fan in stadium experience, not for a TV deal.
For sure, but the NFL also does what we're all asking for here, which is they have 3 unique time slots every week that are single games.
Yep.
And that's all we're really asking for. It's like, I'm not telling the league to bail off the 7:30, because I love watching 360 on Saturday nights when I get the opportunity. But there's no reason you can't have a Friday night game, a Saturday afternoon window, or a Sunday afternoon window that's separate from these others to try to build some consistency.
Yeah. And I mean, the people that would watch those games are the people who will sign up for Apple.
Or hell, Monday nights. During non-football season, God, what the hell's on Monday nights?
I don't know, more Kendrick Drake beef. That's got to be a TV show in production now.
I mean, honestly, like, there needs to be a documentary to explain it to a lot of people, because I could use that.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, I thought some of it was like, I was like, oh, that was kind of funny. But there's like hours and hours and hours of people like, oh, and I'm like, okay, well.
So when we go to Toronto later this year, do we just wear like Kendrick Lamar fan T-shirts? Does that work? I don't know how this works.
I mean, customize Austin FC kits and say Kendrick on the back.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Hey, we could say Lamar, like Lamar in 45, and they would have no idea.
Oh, there you go. No, if we all did like Kendrick on the back, we'd be wandering around downtown Toronto, and they'd be like, "Oh, are you the Kendrick family?" And we'd be like, "No." All right. Any other? Whoop.
Yeah, we talked about Lima almost getting in a fight with his coach, right? New England, by the way, the only team in single digits in the league with points. Everybody else.
They're the only team with single digits, but yet they have somehow taken 4 of their 7 points off the Chicago Fire, who are somehow 3 points ahead of them.
And we're down to 9th, 8th.
We are down to 8th. We are still ahead of St. Louis City because they are at this point. Which tiebreaker do we have over them? We have
wins. We have the wins tiebreak, but they have played one less game than us.
But if you look at it, there's a nice little split that's happened here. Is that you have pre-Seattle, Portland in a few minutes, that you have 5 teams at 10 or 11 points, and then everyone else is 16 and above. So I don't know. The mission is take 6 points in the next 2 matches.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think even if we catch 4 in the next 2, we're still in a decent pace, right? If you catch 6, our points per game goes back to 1.57 for the year. Right now, we're sitting exactly on perfect mediocrity of 4 wins, 4 losses, 4 draws, and 1.33 points a game.
And a total of a 0 goal differential.
Yeah, I mean, just perfectly balanced,
right?
But if we can win these next 2 at home, then we're back to above a 1.5 point pace, and that's 51 plus points for the year, which easily puts us in the playoffs.
Yeah, and any of us would have taken that at the beginning of the year.
Oh, absolutely.
I guess the footnote there too to your New England point was Frisco is only above or into double digits because we lost to them last night. So I mean,
Yes.
sort of an important little addendum there. But I mean, we're still in that West log jam, and I think we've kind of talked about it a little bit. If we're sticking in the staying with the pack into July, seems fine. I think we'd all be happy with that.
Yeah, I think we're in touching distance of that 7, 8, 9 spot before we can get to the window. I think we're all pretty okay.
Yeah.
Tread water.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's also just like the West, like it's just going to be teams jumping each other week after week throughout the rest of the season. And so to some extent, like it's going to be the old adage of like you only have to get hot for 6 weeks in MLS, and if Boston manages to get hot at the end of the season after some additions, then there's no reason they can't jump up to having a full home field for the playoffs.
Yeah.
Two other notes looking around at the standings. We've commented on this podcast a lot about San Jose. Even with their win last night, they've now given up 28 goals through 12 matches, which is, I mean, they're coming down on their pace, but they're still on pace to give up over 80 goals this season, which is something. And Miami, on the other hand, with their comeback yesterday, has now scored 35 goals in 13 matches, which would also set a league record in terms of scoring pace. I mean, they've also given up 20 goals. It's just funny to look at them with FC Cincinnati, one spot behind them, and FC Cincinnati has a match in hand. 15 and 10 goals, and without Aaron Bupenza probably for the rest of his career at this point. Like, Cincinnati needs to find a goal scorer this summer, but that defense has only given up 10 goals in 12 matches, which is pretty darn impressive.
From an investments point of view, the most sure thing in this league right now is betting the over on a Miami game.
Yeah.
Like, the market hasn't adjusted, and it continuously is 3 goals, like 3, 2.5 for games. And they're on their own averaging 2.5 to 3 of their most games when Messi is playing. Messi and Suarez are both playing. But their back line is so shitty that they give up a couple, too.
Suffering from joy is not a betting advice column. Please take anything we say as a form of entertainment. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF. I think I got all that. Anyway.
I said investments, not gambling.
I know. They actually stick a bunch of those ads at the front of Ian Wright's podcast, which is on Bill Simmons' terrible, terrible platform. So I've almost quit listening to it because of it, but I've got it rooted away in the back of my brain somewhere. All of the disclaimers because of that. All right. Do you guys want to do format?
Sure.
Seth, feel free to participate to the extent you want, but stock rising.
Seth?
I'm thinking about it right now. Our stock rising of the game would be maybe you have to go with someone who honestly didn't play in this match, but Ethan Finley's strategic injury to not get out and embarrass himself and having a play there that going with, like, honestly not appearing in this match for anyone right now from the Austin point of view is probably a stock rising.
Ethan's jumping on the groin demon grenade for us.
Oh, I'm well aware, but like at this point, like this is a strategic time for, hopefully he'll be back by, I don't think he'll be back for Wednesday, but by Saturday. But at this point, like doing nothing and strategically timed injury so you don't embarrass yourself in front of Jesus Ferreira or Peter Musa, that works. It's a lame choice, I'll admit, but like I did see anything that was stock rising last night.
Well, he's the savvy veteran for a reason.
Yes.
Brad, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I'm kind of split between 2 guys, but I'm going to go with Biru as stock rising. It continues to get better every week for this team, and I think you see it in the attack when he came off. The attack changed down that left side completely, and so for me, he's a guy who just adds a dimension that we haven't had over on that position before, and hopefully he's better soon because we're better with him on the field.
Yeah, I like that pick. Charles?
I'm a little esoteric, but my stock rising is having good designated players. Well, so like we talked about it earlier, but like in the match last night, every goal was scored by a designated player between Musa and Ferrer and Driussi. And Austin's lack of getting Driussi a true partner in terms of attack and linking up is what's holding this team back. And, obviously the hope of that was Rigoni, and that has not happened in any way, shape, or form.
And continues to not happen.
Just having good players and having chances fall to them seems like a pretty winning strategy.
And I assume you guys covered the Wolves press conference, right?
No, we didn't.
Okay, so
stop calling all of us.
So in the press conference after the game last night, it's like, well, when you give, I'm not going to get the quote exactly right, but it's something. It's like, well, if you give a designated player an opportunity, they're going to finish the ball. And I don't know. There was a designated player who had a lot of opportunities.
Really?
Who did not finish the ball. We don't even need to do him on stock falling right now because it's all of our stock falling, even though his stock falling is already going there. But it is it was such a parody of a quote that it's just like, do you not recognize? Is there no sense of irony here?
I was going to ask if he said it completely straight faced, but
it is. I'm pulling up I need to pull up the exact quote. So this is it. This is referring to Pederusa. He's a DP, and if you give that DP the ball, there's a chance he'll score. But Seba's done way too much for this group for me to get totally bummed out. He worked incredibly hard throughout the game to get us a goal and more goals. It happens in soccer. It does happen in the game. Yes, I'm sympathetic to the end of the 2/3 of that. But he's a DP.
Well, he did say that guy's.
He said if you
he specified that DP, yeah.
Yes, but still, it is.
I don't know. Maybe there was a little bit of self-awareness in there saying that DP. I don't know. Hey, Ring shoved over Ferreira after the goal. He did something.
Yeah. A little too late.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Danny. I thought he had a quietly good game, got us out of, some bits of pressure. Other than the, little bit where he almost kicked a guy in the face, I thought he was pretty sound defensively. And he's kind of been up and down this year, and I think maybe it's a style of the teams we're playing where they'll have good games and bad. But nice to see him on have a good game when he gets back from Venezuela.
So when I said there was two, that was my other one. I thought Danny had some really great line-breaking passes last night, and his vision moving forward was some of the best I've seen him this year.
Cool. We have Seth a little more time to think on this one, so we'll do stock falling. Brad, you can go first.
I already did my stock falling, so we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you can't say Rigoni because he's already on the pink sheets. So I'm gonna go with Jade Obrian. We talked about it. Yeah, I talked about it earlier, man. For me, when he gets the ball at his feet and he's in a one-on-one, or he's attacking the zone and just have a clear shot, he's still looking to shoot when he needs to pick his head up and maybe look for help because he has runners that he misses way too often for my taste. And there was a point last night where he dribbled to the in-line. And if he just looks up, he's got a cutback pass with one of our guys standing right near the I didn't forget who was coming in behind it, but standing right near the spot, wide open. It doesn't even look for it. And it's just it's a repeating pattern that I'm seeing out of Obrian that is becoming very frustrating to watch.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and jump in and take the one I thought you were going to take and pick Driussi. Because, we did the pass to death. Even the rest of the game, he wasn't he had a spiffy little Rabona cross that nothing came out of. And he was working play halfway decent, but you give up that pass, you expect him to come in and score some Superman goal or something to make up for it. And he put away a penalty, but it's not like he won the penalty or anything like that. But I'm not saying he had the worst game in history, but from where we had him, on this exalted, place, maybe there's some knocking back down to earth to go. Any thoughts, or we want to go ahead and?
No, that's fair. I thought about that. That was I thought about Driussi, but I tried to give him a little grace to the end on the stock falling, just because I thought the last 20 minutes of the game he was all over the place, in a positive way. But yeah, if you're talking about percentage wise, because obviously it's 10 points on $100 stock versus 10 points on a $50 stock matters differently. Yeah,
he definitely was falling some. But I don't know that he fell in my eyes as much as everywhere else. I just want to get back to the point I made at the beginning on Driussi, which is we just can't be afraid to hold him accountable because it seems like some people in this fan base are afraid to hold him accountable.
Yes, that's fair.
I mean,
I also think on stock falling here. I mean, CJ got in from the bench last night. We liked seeing CJ in, but he didn't really add too much of anything. Like, it is something that's a question of if he's not going to be able to add with Ethan out with other opportunities there, it makes me wonder how many opportunities is he going to get where we're going to be losing depth at other positions, is wondering how flexible he'll be around. Because, like, let's face it, we're going to have some defensive depth issues. We're going to have some midfield depth issues coming up with Copa America. And that's assuming everyone stays healthy. So it's going to be real interesting to see how our depth gets utilized, especially before the summer signing window.
Yeah, I think we had a little different view on CJ earlier, and hoping to see him get some more minutes this week with some added game time. But yeah, I think we're going to need him.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see him get more game time, but he has to show more than what he has been able to show, at least what he did last night.
Yeah. All right, Charles.
I probably should have interjected, but my stock falling is Sebastian Driussi.
You can't double pick him. You got to pick someone else.
Okay, well then my stock falling is Wolfball. Because I think we just saw last night like the blueprint of trying to control the ball, to control the game, try to push up, having the defenders push up, and just see that is not a winning strategy for this team and this roster. And I don't feel as though Austin was really ever really in that game yesterday. As much as they like kind of created a couple of like okay chances, like that game was the blueprint of how Dallas wants every game to go and how they want to play, and Estevez couldn't have dreamed up a better result besides his team not committing a penalty at the end.
I mean, you can go in on Driussi a little more if you want to.
I mean, here's the thing that I don't think people have recognized yet, but Driussi only has one goal he only has one goal during live play this season. Mm-hmm. He scored 3 and he has 2 penalties. And at some point, like, we need to have a discussion about where Driussi is deployed and if that is really the best use of him and his skills when he is the best finisher on the team.
To be fair, his one non-penalty goal was a fantastic non-penalty goal in the 100th minute against San Jose. So
I don't disagree with that, but that's worth credence to the argument of we need to figure out ways to get him in more positions like that.
Yeah, he's too far.
I mean,
he's spending too much time on the ball, too far away from goal, for my liking.
Yep.
There are too many times where Alex Ring is the most advanced midfielder.
Yes. Sorry, I wasn't trying to disagree with you. Just to add a little context.
Oh no, you were definitely trying to fight. It's okay.
Yeah.
Everybody's riled up after that Nick Lima discussion.
I was going to say, I got to throw on my Nick Lima jersey and we'll be ready to go. That I definitely own.
Well, we were in Frisco last night, so it would fit in.
Yeah. There you go.
I mean, I don't know if we've talked about this so much, but Nick Lima is now playing with Javier Arriaga on the New England back line. And wow, I mean, that's really a Patriot front there.
Tink.
Oh man.
Yeah, I guess we do need to touch on too, since you mentioned Finnegan and Frisco. There was a banner that was not allowed in the stadium because it had the word hell on it.
Yes, that happened.
Jesus fucking Christ.
But you know what? We have to make sure that we do not curse and we do not offend the great families of Collin County, Texas, that spend their hard-earned dollars not on taxpayer funds, but on the right to pursue the liberty to watch soccer games in front of Toyota trucks.
There was also a sign that was banned in the Hell is Real Derby, where I don't know if you're allowed to say hell there, but the sign didn't have it. It just said Anthony Precourt did nothing wrong, and they didn't let it in the stadium.
Cincinnati tried to bring that in.
Yeah. So I'm getting on board with these FC Cincinnati fans lately.
I love it.
Just such a benign and banal statement.
Holy shit, that's funny.
And obviously not letting it in, you get way more attention. Streisand affecting it. So I'm hoping I might push that out a little bit. I just saw it right before we jumped on and hope more and more people see it. That's pretty funny.
That's hilarious. If they better have that inside their stadium later this year.
I hope so. All right, fun part. Charles, you want to lead us off with a moment of suffering?
Yeah, so last night I feel was the first time we really got to see the new anti-time wasting rules employed, in the sense of if a player is down for Seth, you can correct me, 10 seconds, they have to be off for 2 minutes.
Yes.
And so it's kind of the first time we've really seen that impact the game. And it happened a couple times to Dallas players. And Austin, if they're going to do good this season, we can't go 0-2 on the power play. Like, we just have to really take advantage of those man advantage situations if we're really going to try to score better. So my moment of suffering is that even 11 on 10, Austin couldn't score.
So I don't know if you saw this, but Messi was openly complaining about
Yes.
Oh yeah, I saw that quote. He said something like, "If this is the rule, it's taking us in the wrong direction," or something like that.
Yeah, I saw that. And I was like, "Who the fuck is we? You're out of here in like a year, dude."
Yeah. Also, by the way, I hate to break this to you, Lionel, but this is probably going to end up going across the world at some point because it's working.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll get 2 minutes, but the principle will be the same. And they've already talked about like blue cards and shit like this.
Yeah, I was thinking about that in relation to like VAR, because I think that's one of the things that confuses fans a lot, is that every league does it differently. And like for all the things you can say about Sepp Blatter, and I agree with like 99% of them, one of the things that he was right about is that soccer is better if every league has similar rules and plays the same, to where it's more accessible for fans to just know what they're seeing and what's going on.
Yeah, and I mean, I think some of this too, we're like technologying out of existence. So like, semi-automated offside versus the like 900 different offside VAR rules right now. The more that gets widely adopted, I think the better. But I'm with you. I agree on that being the one thing Sepp Blatter said that was probably good.
Yeah, just like having all the VAR agree or have like essentially be the same across leagues would be good. How it's implemented would be good. Just the it's interesting that as that soccer keeps specifying by league and country different ways of not just playing, but just like the basic functions of how the sport works.
Yeah, well, I mean,
you get to a point where you're like watching an English championship match and that the EFL has not implemented VAR yet. And you're just like, wait a minute. Oh, players can celebrate, right? When they just double check to make sure the offside flag is up or not. And it's like, it's a goal or not. But then you're like, oh my God, we got screwed on X, Y, or Z. And it's just like, okay, this is what the game is now. Okay, we move on.
Yeah, I was just thinking about it from like, I think of it with a lot of the like CONCACAF competitions and like some of the stuff the U.S. is involved in, or even like Leagues Cup and stuff like that. Every once in a while, you just you see like a call that you think is missed, and you're like, is there VAR? Do we have VAR for this? And then you realize that it's stadium dependent in some cases, whether or not you have it, because it is not actually uniform in the competition.
Yeah, like we only have VAR for the first leg or something like that. And nobody knows, like, except for Seth. And everybody has to ask and try to figure it out. And it messes with the experience. I agree. Brad, you want to do a moment of suffering?
Yeah, it goes back to my stock up, which is Beerud asking to come out. Obviously, Kalmanich has not gone any more than 30 minutes or so since coming back from his injury. We really can't afford on a 3-game week for our best left back to be out. So hopefully his injury is something small and minor, and it can be back at least by next Saturday.
Yeah, or it forces us into 3 at the back, and we got to mess with stuff. Play some new stuff. Who knows? Seth, how about you?
I would say that I was out doing a number of other things last night. So this is definitely a big match from my point of view of just a suffering of like, we gave up a goal in the 4th minute and I'm not watching this. What the heck just happened? No, but no, it's a question of how do you go into a match here? And it's like you had moments there where you had every single time a ball went down. I mean, we've talked, even the parts I've been on here, talked a lot about Beer setting it down to Rigoni. And you just have to get to a world where you have a player that you can trust to be on the end of these balls. And it is nice to see that we're finally having some progressive passing. We're finally having our wingbacks move up. We're actually like, there's a potential for Wolf Ball to work, and we're still like 2 to 4 players away from it, which is better than being like 6 to 8 players away from it. But before we get to a team that is fully built into it, there's going to be a lot more suffering ahead.
Yeah. Charles sort of hinted at this earlier in our discussion, but mine is the reverse angle when they show Driussi not quite getting to the rebound off the post of the Biru shot.
Yeah.
Because like I saw it live and I was like, oh, it's kind of close. And then I saw the reverse angle and I saw like how close it was. And like we talked about where it was, you know, a millimeter one way or another, either Driussi or coming off the post different. And it was one of those warning signs about like, oh, we're going to have one of those nights, aren't we?
Yeah.
And we did. All right. We're getting up against our 90-minute rule. Anything else you guys want to add before we get out of here? Cool. Silence is golden. All right. Yeah. So, I mean, we'll hopefully rebound, pick up another big Copa Tejas win this week against Houston, and then be back to do it again on Saturday. Go Canes, as always, on behalf of Seth, Charles, and Brad. Thanks for suffering with us. Bye.
Promise here for Austin Jarrett Stroud. It's Diego for goodness! He has written his name into Austin folklore.
They just won't go away.
Oh, he hits the upright again. That's impossible.
The Bears' season's going to end on a double doink.
Altidore squares it. Dempsey's missed it. Donovan has it. From hope, there is glory.